I'm Amy DeLaura, the Director of Video for Washington Examiner, and we're joined today by Dr. Nora Volkow, the Director at the National Institute of Drug Abuse. And Dr. Volkow, we're asking you here today because we're hearing an increase of fatal overdoses from a drug, Xylazine. Now, the Philadelphia Department of Health has released some research saying that 100% of the time, this has been laced with fentanyl. Before we even get into the side effects, how serious of an issue is this now being laced with opioids?
Well, Xylazine by itself is not an addictive drug, but the dealers evidently are mixing Xylazine with fentanyl. And that's why basically all of the overdose deaths that have Xylazine on board also have fentanyl. And in trying to understand why is it that they are doing this, and you ask actually people out there that are consuming these drugs, they are doing it because the combination extends the duration of the effects of fentanyl.
And so it's been coined the zombie drug or tranq. What are the side effects that this is happening? You said it was originally used for veterinarian use on large animals like deer or horses, and it's approved by the FDA to do that. But what are the effects when humans take it?
Well, I mean, before I answer that question, I mean, one of the things that I think is important, because we've actually been trying to be very, very sensitive to language that we use for people that are taking drugs, because there's so much stigma and discrimination. So that's why I don't like the term of these are zombies, because when we see them in the media, zombies are portrayed as these very, very frightening people that come there and kill us and destroy us. So I actually don't like that term of the zombie drug. But what it does is, as a tranquilizer, you use it to sedate, to anesthetize animals. And opioids themselves, actually, we use opioids in anesthesia to enhance the anesthetic effects of drugs. So you can understand then, if you're combining fentanyl with Xylazine, it's not surprising that when people take it, they can get very, very sedated. And they also, that combination can reduce the blood pressure, which can actually exacerbate the problems that fentanyl by itself does. So this is one of the reasons why this combination makes people appear like they are completely sedated, lose consciousness faster, but also why it further increases lethality of fentanyl that to start with is very dangerous.
And we're also hearing about skin wounds and rotting skin. And is that from the injection site, or how is that happening?
What happens is that Xylazine is an alpha, what we call an adrenergic agonist. An adrenergic agonist regulates blood vessels and circulation in our body. And so what Xylazine does, it vasoconstricts and makes the blood vessels much more narrower so that blood cannot be delivered properly. And in the skin, when you don't have delivery of blood, that basically favors the appearance of lesions, just as it's happening with people that are injecting Xylazine. The lesions that are happening with Xylazine injection are more frequently observed on the sites that the person are injecting themselves on. But it also occurs on far away sites, and which is not surprising because the persons are injecting this drug that narrows blood vessels into their bloodstream. So it's distributed everywhere. And so you can then understand why you can have lesions far away from where the injection occurred.
Now, you're saying that Xylazine is more often than not mixed with these other opioids. Narcan, when these drugs are mixed with Xylazine, does not reverse the effects. It does not save you. Can you talk about why that happens or why this is so dangerous to people?
Yeah, and what happens is when you have fentanyl, which is a drug that binds very powerfully to the opioid receptor, and the opioid receptors are in our breathing center, so they inhibit them. To start with, when you are going through an overdose, your blood pressure is going to go down as your breathing goes down. And that makes it actually the issue with something like that is that if you're administering naloxone needs to circulate. So if you have very low blood pressure, then it doesn't get where it should go. And if you have xylazine, that exacerbates it because of its hypotensive effect. And this is, again, one of the reasons why you are combining two very different mechanisms of action between the opioid, fentanyl, and adrenergic, xylazine, that actually just create a tsunami reaction. They come together and escalate the severity and the dangers that the person has. And naloxone will be able to reverse the effects just from the opioid raw, from fentanyl, but it will not do anything for the xylazine effects. It won't touch it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nora Volkow. I'm Amy Delora for the Washington Examiner. For the latest news and exclusive interviews, head to washingtonexaminer.com.